So today I'm going to be talking to you guys about how I quit my job in my hometown and moved to London in order to live my dream life. For those of you who don't know, my name is Kiona. I am originally from Montreal, Canada, and I moved to London about 4 months ago. One of the questions that I constantly get in my comments and just in general is how I quit my job in my hometown and was able to move abroad to London to secure a job, to secure a place. But I'm going to be talking to you guys about what kind of visa I'm on, how exactly I secured a job before coming to London, why and how I chose London, and the step-by-step process that I took in order to make my dream become a reality and move to London. Maybe you've been thinking about moving abroad, wanting to live somewhere else. I'm going to tell you exactly how I did it from step one to actually moving here. Maybe you can take things away from the things that I've done. Maybe you can improve on the things that I've done. If you guys enjoy this video, just give it a quick like and don't forget to subscribe. I have a bunch more content coming out. I post new content every single week. But without further ado, let's get into the first step. So the first step is actually one of the most important steps, and I'll talk about that later, but the first step that I took before quitting my job and moving to London, I defined and I decided what my why for moving to London was. Specifically moving to London, my why was that I wanted to elevate and grow my career as a content creator. I wanted to discover who I really was without the comfort zone that I grew up in my whole life, my friends, my family, my hometown. I really wanted to grow into a responsible, thriving adult. Because this why is so important to me, it is the reason that I've actually stuck it out and stayed in London, because there are many times that I was feeling homesick, anxious, depressed, just wanting to go home, to go back to my comfort zone where I didn't have to worry about keeping a job, paying rent in such an expensive city such as London, and just so many other culture shocks and homesickness that I was experiencing. It would have been a lot easier to just give up and go back home, but the reason why I'm here really kept me grounded and allowed me to stick it through. So I think that's one of the most important first steps to take if you're considering moving abroad or just considering moving to a new city or moving out of your house. When you have a strong reason why to ground you, I think you'll find that it's going to be a lot easier to get through those hard times. Step number two, I looked for agencies that would do the work for me in terms of finding myself a job and getting set up with a visa. There actually are a bunch of agencies that are tailor-made to do the work for you, to set you up with a job and a place to stay abroad. The agency that I used specifically caters towards the hospitality, teaching, and au pairing. There are a bunch of other agencies that do the same thing. You pay them a fee and they do the work for you in finding a job, finding your accommodation, and getting you set up with the visa. And I think that it's probably the best option in terms of ease. And also just keep in mind and have the mentality that you're not stuck with the job that the agency sets you up with. I know it would be great to just commit and to, have the job and stick through it, but just know that you can always change. That's what I did. I was set up with a job in Oxford actually before I moved to London, so I didn't exactly like Oxford at all. It was a very small town, very quiet, and the job, it just wasn't for me. So I actually just found a job in London while I was working in Oxford, found a place to stay in London, and maybe I think 3 weeks later I moved to London. So just keep in mind that you're not stuck with any job that you commit to, and all you need is a job offer before you move abroad, so that one, you're not stuck financially with looking for a job when you get there, but two, most visas actually require you to have a job offer before moving. And speaking of visas, step number three. So a bunch of people have been asking me what kind of visa I'm on, and the visa that I'm on is called the Youth Mobility Visa. So a few things about this visa. There are specific requirements that you need, but it is a great option if you fill all of these requirements. The Youth Mobility Visa is specifically for Commonwealth countries such as mine, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, there's a bunch more, but specifically for Commonwealth countries, the Youth Mobility Visa applies to. You also have to be between, I believe it's 18 and 31 if I'm not mistaken, but you need to be between that age range in order to qualify for the visa. I know that there are other visas that you could get, specifically off the top of my head, the self-employed visa, a worker's visa, I'm pretty sure it's called a skilled worker visa now. There's a student visa, an investor's visa. I know that there's even a family reunification visa if one of your family members lives in the country that you want to go to. There are a bunch of other visas that you could apply for, but personally, if you do qualify for the youth mobility visa, I think that it is a great option to get started on your journey in moving abroad. It is just one of the easiest visas to get if you qualify for it. Step number 4, saving up. So I definitely saved up a bunch before moving to London, but I definitely did not save enough, and I definitely did not prepare for exactly how expensive it is to live here. But this is why step 4 is so important, because if you're considering moving abroad, I think the most important step is saving up so that you have a financial cushion to fall back on. Personally, when I moved here, I experienced debilitating homesickness, so much so that I was depressed for weeks. I had to take time off work. It was just an added stress of not being able to earn and not having a financial cushion to fall back on that I just wish I saved more before coming here. But the things that I did to save up as much as I could before leaving were selling my stuff. I worked any extra hours that I was offered from my work, and I definitely limited my spending and limited how much I go out. Step number 5, I planned where I was going to keep my stuff, and I think this is maybe one of the most crucial aspects of it, because if you do have pets, it's definitely something to consider before moving abroad. Specifically for me, I have 2 cats at home that I absolutely adore and miss so much, but it just wasn't realistic for me to bring them with me to London for 2 years, especially when I didn't really have a good idea of where I would be staying, and currently the place where I'm staying now doesn't accept pets anyway. But I just thought it was the best idea to keep them at home, so I am very lucky that I have my wonderful mom that is taking care of them. I don't think I would trust them with anyone else, to be honest, but just making sure that's something that you think about if you have pets. Will you be able to bring them with you? Do you have someone that you trust to take care of them while you're away, etc., etc. Also your physical stuff, because you definitely cannot move all of your stuff overseas with you. Personally, moving from Canada to the UK, I had to leave a bunch of stuff behind, and I'm again really lucky that I have my mom who stored my stuff in her place, because without her I would have had to give away or throw out most of my stuff, which meant a lot to me. So just make sure that you have your affairs in order when it comes to finding a place, a safe place for your stuff and pets. Step number 6, wait to be accepted for your visa and buy a one-way ticket once you do. So this one is a crucial one, because I know a bunch of people that have bought their plane tickets before getting accepted for their visa, because there is a 3-week to 4-week wait time on the visa acceptance depending on which visa you apply for. Now, my visa acceptance was 3 weeks, but I personally did not buy a plane ticket before getting this acceptance. I've heard a bunch of people have bought their plane ticket before actually getting accepted, and then their visa actually wasn't accepted on time. Personally for me, I applied last year, 2022, in September, and my visa got accepted in a week, which is actually unheard of. I don't know anybody's visa that was accepted in a week, because the average wait time is 3 weeks, but I guess I was just really lucky. So as soon as I got that acceptance, I think I booked my plane ticket the same day. Step number 7 that I took was, once I finally got in Oxford, I looked for jobs in London. I definitely did plan on staying in Oxford before moving, but once I actually moved to Oxford, I just realized it was not for me. So definitely one of the steps that I would take before was to do research on the city and just really think about if the vibe is for you. But since I didn't do that, I was very unprepared. I moved to Oxford and I hated it. No offense, I love Oxford if I'm visiting, but definitely would not live there. So because I got hired through an agency, the rent that I was paying was subsidized by my employer, because they do have staff accommodation. My rent was really cheap in this case, and I was able to take less shifts in order to find a job and go to interviews and go to apartment viewings in London. I definitely do not recommend this because it is very tiring. I was working a job in Oxford while taking a 2-hour train ride there to London and back, and I was just exhausted going from interview to apartment showing, and I think it would just be easier if you were just very sure about the place that you were moving to and sure about the city. But I will say, above anything, I was super committed to living in London. I wouldn't let anything stop me, so I guess that's all you really need. I mean, sometimes you can make a mistake and get somewhere and you're disappointed, but as long as you're determined to make yourself happy and find the place that you want, then you can do anything. And finally, step number 8, I added this step because I think it's really important and something that I didn't do and something that I just talked about, but deciding on what country you want to live in. I think it's super important not just to know the vibe in order to know if you'll actually like living there, but also figuring out the documentation that you need, figuring out what kind of visa that you need. Finding a job in some countries and finding accommodation in some countries is a lot easier than other countries. So just doing your research and going in depth on the research of the country that you want to move to or the city that you want to move to before actually moving there. But I definitely think this is most important to just get a feel of the city. Personally, I thought I would love living in London, but it's not exactly my favorite just because it is very packed, it's very busy, it's very hectic. It's not really my vibe. I love city life, but I think I love the balance of city life and quiet, and London is definitely just not it for me. But I am here for a purpose. I will be here for a while. I'm here to stick it through. I do love London, it's great, but personally, if I would have taken into consideration the vibe of this city and how that relates to me, I don't think it would have been my first choice, but nonetheless, I am happy here. Also, make sure that you can keep up with the cost of living in your new country. I chose one of the most expensive cities, and in some ways, in many ways, it is worth living in London, but I definitely wish that I would have considered this before moving here. I definitely would have saved more and just prepared more. So those are the steps that I took in order to quit my job in my hometown and move to London in order to live my dream life. It was definitely a disorganized process and not as organized as I would have liked, but it is what it is. You live and you learn. If you have any questions for me, just leave them in the comments down below. I will definitely answer all of them. If you liked this video, just give it a quick thumbs up and consider subscribing. I post new videos every single week. But for now, I will see you guys on the next one.